Players take on the role of various birds, competing to gain priority across different biomes: savanna, alpine, freshwater, and desert in Nestlings. Thank you for joining me here at Tangerine Studio D. I'm Kevin Delp. Nestlings is a competitive dice placement resource management board game for 1 to 4 players. It takes about 30 to 60 minutes to play. Now this game is going to crowdfunding from Tangerine Games, who's sponsoring this video. I'll have a link in the description of this video. As in all our overview videos, we'll give you an idea on how the game is played, but we won't be sharing our thoughts on likes or dislikes. In this video, we'll look at general gameplay, and this is a prototype. The actual production of the game will be better. Now let's take a look at Nestlings. The game comes with cards, tokens, dice, resources, and boards. Here's a quick overview of the game. Nestlings is played over 4 rounds. Each round, there's a gathering phase and a feeding phase. Players will be rolling their dice and placing them in different biomes to gain different kinds of resources, using these resources to feed their nestlings and various other things to get points, which you do need to win the game. In a given round, the biomes are seeded with resources, and then all players roll their dice behind their player screen. They'll be able to make one free reroll attempt on the dice they'd like to reroll. Then, in turn order, they'll be placing one of their dice into one of the biomes. The die needs to match the biome it's being placed in. The only exception to this is the grasslands biome. Any die face can be placed there, but blank faces have to be placed in the grasslands. Now there are ways to even reroll again or even change the die face to one of your choosing. If you place a second die into a biome where you already have a die, just place it on top of your previous one. After all the dice from the players have been placed, you move to the biome resolution. The player who has the most dice present will go first, and if there's a tie, that is resolved on who placed their dice there first in the biome. The first player in each of these biomes, except grassland, we'll get to that in a second, chooses one type of resource to keep, which is usually 1 or 2 tokens, and then discards one type of resource. This only happens with the first player. All other players will just choose one type of resource and won't discard any. The grassland is always the last biome to be resolved. Here, players will choose a single resource from any biome to gain. The feeding phase happens during the gathering phase. As soon as you gain a resource, you also gain the corresponding biome segment and place it on your board. The resources you gain go either on your board in the appropriate spaces or beneath your board. The ones on your board have to match the native biome you have. You are allowed to use the wild worm resource there too. Now these will be fed to your nestlings at the end of the round and gain you victory points. At the end of the round, you'll count up these points plus a point for each biome segment that's on your board. Once you fill up a section, you immediately activate one of the 2 bonuses that are on either side of that completed segment. Most of them are going to help you get resources or even gain an extra biome segment. Resources can be turned in to complete gathering goals on your turn, and you can also keep some for your end of game nest goals. But these resources instead could even be traded in during the game for a one-time benefit, like getting a resource or even an additional die for the next round. After 4 rounds, you count up all your points to see who wins. Now, the decisions in this game come in many different ways. Not only what biomes you're trying to roll, but what order you decide to place the biome dice, what resources you tried to collect, and then how to spend those resources to get the most points. There's also a module that gives players a special benefit, sort of like a player power. There's Fearless that gains you priority in the savanna biome. Forager allows you to move one of your dice to the grasslands if you won priority in desert. Proficient Hunter basically gains you 2 types of resources from the alpine biome. Aerial Display gains you an additional die into the freshwater biome. Now you'll have to check the crowdfunding campaign to see how to get this special player power module. I think it's part of the all-in package. Now again, this game that you're seeing is a prototype, but you can get the general idea of what the company is working to produce. You have the biome bags with the resource tokens, the wooden dice, the player boards with the biome segments, and a lot more. So if managing your own nest of birds with dice placement and resource gathering sounds interesting, then check out Nestlings from Tangerine Games on crowdfunding now.